Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man back in the studio. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe for Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, and warcry content. Everything from reactions, reviews, and news to painting and modeling tutorials. We are a commission-based studio, so we show off the commissions as they go out the door. That being said, let's jump right in. And according to Games Workshop, the new avatar is strong enough to one-shot a Titan. What does that actually mean? Well, let's have a look. So this is this week's Path of Preview. And it says, with Eldritch Omens available for pre-order and Codex Aeldari dropping soon, it's time to talk about the white-hot, molten-skinned elephant in the room, the Avatar of Khaine. This iconic unit hasn't just had a glow-up, he's erupted in incandescent flame, striding forward from the roaring heart of his craft world, looking better than ever and ready to slay. And just looking at the model, he looks great. There's definitely a couple things that you could, critique. But overall, great looking model. Definitely looking forward to him, and he is absolutely huge. Of course, it's not enough to just look good on the battlefield. The Avatar has received an updated stat line to match his magnificent stature, making him faster, tougher, and stronger than before, a true centerpiece, as befits the statuesque shard of Sundered God. So here we see it's a picture of the new avatar, but we see the old and new stat lines here. So the old stat line was movement 7. The new stat line is 10-inch move. Weapon skill was 2 in both cases. Ballistic skill was 2 and is 2 again. Strength is 6. Now it's 7. Toughness was 6. Now it's 8. Wounds was 8. Now it's 14. Attacks was 5. And now it is 7. And leadership was 9. Now it is 10. And save was 3+, now it is 2+. And it is strange here because I don't know why they have in red the move 10, ballistic skill 2, attack 7. I'm assuming that's somehow article related, but before it was movement 7, ballistic skill 2 still, and attacks 5 instead of 7. So they're not highlighting the changes, they're obviously just highlighting key stats that are going to make the difference. But let's take a look. Sweating already? That's not just the heat emanating from his blistering body. The Wailing Doom, or Sundale, for the Eldari amongst you, is the Avatar's signature weapon. With its edge honed by Vol and its balance tested by Asuryani, all three forms of this divine weapon are thirsty for blood. So here we have the Wailing Doom in melee. And from what we've seen so far, the actual stats of the weapon I don't believe are going to be different, but maybe they will be. But we know that it can take 3 forms. In the sword, the spear, and the axe, and all 3 are included in the kit. So you could easily magnetize those, which I will do a tutorial on if you want to do all 3, and also the heads as well. So stay tuned for that magnetization tutorial. That being said, the Wailing Doom in melee. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, select one of the profiles below to make the attack with. And then we see a piercing strike and a sweeping blow. So the piercing strike is for a bunch of damage to a single target. The sweeping blow would hit multiple targets, less damage but more hits. So for the piercing strike, obviously it is range melee and type melee. Strength is ×2, AP is -5, and damage is d6 +2. So that being said, we know that he was strength 7, so that's going to give him strength 14, AP -5, and minimum damage 3, maximum damage 8 per strike. And then for the sweeping blow, again range melee, type melee, strength user, so that would be our regular strength of 7, AP -2, and damage 2. So this is like your Space Marine killer. And then abilities, each time an attack is made with this weapon profile, make 2 hit rolls instead of 1. So you would basically double his attacks for this, and then you would roll an attack for each of those doubled attacks. And then let's just scroll down and see what it says. You read that right. Piercing strikes are hitting at strength 14, and each successful blow deals d6 +2 damage. If you roll hot, that's an eye-watering 56 damage, more than enough to kill a Warhound Titan, and change. So that's if you rolled maximum all hits and maximum damage on every single die, which is not probable, you would do 56 damage. So if you just say you roll roughly average, you could probably kill a knight in a single round of attacks, because that would be about 28 damage roughly. Just cutting it in half, not going through the actual work. So don't sleep on those sweeping blows either, because 14 attacks at damage 2 will have the Avatar mowing down big hordes and elite squads alike. Now, one thing about that I think makes it not overpowered is we know he's going to be striking at strength 7, I believe it was. Yeah, so because he's coming in at strength 7 instead of strength 8, your typical Marine is going to be toughness 4. So he's still going to be wounding on 3s, not 2s. So he'll have 14 attacks, but the difference between wounding on 3s versus 2s is twice as many fails. So that is a big difference in my opinion. So the fact that he doesn't get a 1 strength bonus makes it a big deal. So I like that. It keeps it more balanced than if it was just 2s to wound. He'd just be literally mowing down entire squads of Primaris Marines. Yeah, so looks good. I like it. Seems balanced. Seems right in line with what we were expecting. Let's keep rolling down here. Of course, nothing in combat is guaranteed, so why not soften up your opponents with a little bit of cheeky pre-combat shooting? The Wailing Doom isn't limited to hacking and slashing. It can fire a 12-inch column of searing flame that hits any units it touches. So this is right in line with the old Wailing Doom. It has a shooting profile as well. So it like shoots out lava, or he throws his spear and then it returns to him, however you want to look at it. Range is 12, assault 1, strength is 12, AP -4, damage D6 +2. So pretty strong. It's only one shot, so it's not going to be doing too crazy. Definitely could snipe a character with something like this, especially like a librarian or something that doesn't have an invulnerable save. You could definitely do a little bit of damage to a vehicle, but definitely more for softening up a target. Probably not going to be just like smoking anything with a single shot with this. Abilities. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, if a hit is scored, draw a straight line between the closest point of the bearer's base or hull and that of the closest model in the target unit. Make one wound roll against the target unit and each other unit that this line passes over. Okay, so this has that same molten kind of like rule that we saw on the Tau special issue War Gear Fusion Blaster. So essentially, if you can position the avatar in a way that your target is, say, 12 inches away, and in between the target is just a regular squad of Space Marines, or say, in this case, like a librarian or something, you make a hit roll against your target, which would assume, let's say, a vehicle. If you hit the vehicle, you then make a wound roll against everything it passes over. So that would be the unit of Space Marines, the librarian, and then, of course, the vehicle as well. So that single hit roll is very consequential, because now you have the ability to damage everything in between, and with that strength 12, the probability of doing damage is huge. So this substantially ups the output for a single assault weapon if you can position him. But again, his move is nice and everything, but he's not so fast that you're going to be able to just kind of like zigzag through the battlefield and like abuse this horribly, because anything you're putting in the way between you and your actual target for the charge is essentially slowing down your actual move for the charge. And if you roll poorly, you could miss the whole charge, because you have to hit everything that you're trying to charge. So you still have to be cautious about this positioning. I don't think this rule is going to get abused because he doesn't have the fly ability or a ridiculous amount of move. So I do like this. I think it's balanced. It's very flavorful. Looks good so far. None of this would be worth much if the avatar crumpled before withering firepower. Unfortunately for his opponents, this molten metal abomination of war has 2+ save and 4+ invulnerable save and halves all incoming damage. Okay, that is pretty nasty. So he has a 4+ invulnerable save. Each time an attack is allocated to this model from his molten form, have the damage characteristics of that attack rounding up. That is pretty sick. Before he had like some bonuses against like melta weapons. This is much better in my opinion. Having all damage that hits him is pretty amazing. And then things that are ignoring invulnerable saves, like say the Tau railgun or something like that, instead of doing some ridiculous amount of damage, it's going to do ridiculous amount of damage cut in half. I do really like that, so definitely pretty good. The avatar also has access to some impressive auras, aside from his general sense of style and presence, of course. There's more presence of the war god will drive nearby asuryani into a bloody-handed battle rage, but you'll need to wait for Codex Aeldari to arrive to get the whole story. So we'll have some more releases coming this week. Overall, he looks awesome. Definitely love him. I can't wait to get him and chop him up a little bit. I'm going to do a slight conversion. Don't really like how the fire looks, and it sort of looks weird that the fire is kind of going in one direction and the cloak is like flowing in the wind in the opposite direction. Maybe there's some sort of tornado circling around him that's causing weird air patterns. I don't know. So wounds 14, pretty awesome. Save 2 up, 4 up, half damage. So in all actuality, you're going to have to do 28 damage to him with a 2 up, 4 up. So he is basically as durable as a knight. Because a knight would have 28 wounds. He has 14 wounds, but halves the damage. He definitely is going to be a beast. I'm interested to see what the auras are. And regardless of if he is good in gameplay, he will definitely find a place in my army just because he's the avatar and must lead the Eldar. Beautiful, beautiful model. This is what I'm talking about. The cape flows this way as if the wind is essentially coming from this direction, but the fire is flowing in the opposite direction. So it's really weird. If the cape was just going in the other direction, it would make a little bit more sense. I don't know. It's very strange. It's probably me just overlooking into it, but just the aesthetic of the model doesn't quite seem right to me. And it's not a huge deal, but I don't know. I don't love it. I love the base of the model and everything about it, but a couple of the random details, like the little bits of fire, I really hope those are glue-on after bits that can be either... Well, I mean, I'll cut them off if need be. But regardless, so that's the avatar. He looks great. He looks phenomenal. I'm going to actually do a quick little touch on a previous article that I skipped over. I didn't want to spam random articles. It didn't feel huge, but let's take a look at that one as well while we're here. So this one is the some Harlequin stuff for Path of the Preview as well. Kiss, caress, and embrace your way to victory with the reinvented Harlequin weapons. And again, this was from Path of the Preview. We've seen how Harlequin detachments can join an Aeldari or Drukhari army, but what kind of weapons are these jesters bringing? Let's just say that they're funny, but not ha-ha funny. The Harlequins are best known for dancing in the battle and eviscerating their enemies with a variety of deadly melee weaponry, and now the 3 most famous Harlequin weapons have all been updated to have the same lethal stat line in the new Codex Aeldari. So previously, the Harlequin's Caress, the Harlequin's Embrace, and the Harlequin's Kiss all did something slightly different. Now all 3 of them will have the same stat profile. So they're all melee range, type melee, strength +1, AP -2, and damage 2. So a nice stat line. Not amazing, but nice. And then each variant gives the model that it carries a different keyword, which can be triggered with stratagems to really unlock the devastating impact of these unconventional weapons. The Harlequin's Kiss contains a monofilament wire that unravels inside its victim, turning their insides into soup. Not the Eldari would know anything about something as prosaic as soup. This horrific outcome is represented by the Kiss of Death stratagem. So yeah, we see all 3 of these different weapons. Obviously, the Harlequin's Kiss, you stab it into your opponent, and then a tiny little filament wire unravels really quickly inside them and just kind of whips around and just basically turns them, liquefies their insides. But most importantly, whatever stat line you take on your models, you then can activate with one of these 3 stratagems. So this is the Kiss of Death, Aeldari Wargear stratagem. Harlequins equipped with the Harlequin's Kiss cause catastrophic damage to their foes as they plunge their weapon through the thickest armor. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Harlequin's Kiss unit is selected to fight. Until that fight is resolved, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. A unit can only suffer a maximum of 6 mortal wounds per phase. Due to the stratagem, a unit cannot be selected for the stratagem and the Oblivion's Caress stratagem in the same phase. So, wound rolls of 6 for this unit. It says you use this stratagem in the fight phase when it's selected to fight. So this is pre-rolls, and then each unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts a mortal wound up to a maximum of 6. So you can have a maximum of 6 wound rolls of 6. So there's a 1 in 36 chance of rolling 6 sixes, or typically, basically you would roll 36 dice, and then average would have it that 1 in every 6 of those would be a 6. So for 36 wound rolls would give you that maximum 6 mortal wounds. Anything over that would be wasted. So essentially, as long as you have 36 hits, which if Harlequins are hitting on 3s, that means essentially that you're going to have, if 36 are going through, 1/3 are not going to be going through. So that would be somewhere around, so 18 would not be going through. So we would have, if you have a unit with 54 attacks and 1s and 2s missed, then you would have 36 go through, and then those 36 would wound on 6s, and you would get 6 wounds with mortal wounds. So 54 attacks. I'm not sure exactly how many attacks Harlequins are going to have, if it's going to be like 4 or 5. But basically, for this stratagem to hit its full maximum potential, let's say they have 5 attacks each for 56 attacks and a couple extras for the leader maybe. This would be most useful, or hit its maximum 6 mortal wounds on like a squad of 10 Harlequins. Now the math may not be perfect on that. You may have rerolls that give them a bonus, etc. But this is essentially breaking down that this stratagem is going to be really good if you have a full unit of Harlequins, like basically 10 Harlequins, maybe 6 with rerolls or something like that, but all with Harlequin's Kisses. So this gives you the impression that these units are going to be all taking that same weapon to get maximum use out of this Kiss of Death, and that even if you have a full squad of 10 of them with this, it's capped at 6 mortal wounds, but you're probably not going to be getting more than that because you're going to need like 60 attacks to get 6 mortal wounds. So that's just a basic breakdown. You know, the math may not be perfect on that, but armed with this, a troop of Harlequins can easily churn through a heavily armored unit such as Terminators. No less terrifying is the Harlequin's Caress, a wrist-mounted phase field generator that allows its bearer to reach inside an enemy's armor. With the Oblivion's Caress stratagem, it even allows you to bypass invulnerable saves. So we know that this one says you can't use it with the Oblivion's Caress stratagem in the same phase. So this is the Oblivion's Caress. A gentle touch from a Harlequin's Caress sends the target into agony. Even the most potent shielding is no defense. And this is 2 command points. The previous one was 1 command point. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Harlequin's Caress unit is selected to fight until the fight is resolved each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack. Invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against that attack. A unit cannot be selected for this stratagem and the Kiss of Death stratagem in the same phase. So here's the thing about this that I'm not sure right now. It says use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Harlequin's Caress unit is selected to fight. And it says you can't use these together with the Harlequin's Kiss stratagem. Previously, you could take mixed weapons in your Harlequin's unit. So you had like the Caresses and the Kisses and whatnot. This makes me think that there's some sort of weird dynamic going on here. You're obviously able to still take mixed units, or it wouldn't say that you can't use the 2 of them together. So this one Caress must trigger this ability, regardless of how many of your actual models are equipped with it. So using this stratagem in the fight phase, when a Harlequin's Caress unit is selected to fight until the fight is resolved. So the Harlequin's Caress unit would be a unit with a guy who has a Harlequin's Caress. Until that fight is resolved, each time a model in that unit, so the whole unit doesn't have to have the Caress. One guy has the Caress, it triggers a stratagem, you pay 2 command points, it affects the whole unit. Each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against that attack. So all the attacks from that unit ignore invuls. A unit cannot be selected for the stratagem and the Kiss of Death stratagem in the same phase. So we can't stack the mortal wounds on top of it, but we know we have a +1 strength, -2 AP, damage 2 going on here that would now ignore invulnerable saves. So that's my take on it. Maybe it's not perfect, but that's what I'm seeing here. Sorry, Monkai, not even your fancy storm shields can save you this time. Finally, there's the Harlequin's Embrace, which surrounds an enemy with a monofilament wire that contracts, slicing them into pieces, perfect for feeding Yvrane's Gearnix. Send your whole troop in for a group hug with a deadly embrace. So here's the Embrace. This one does not appear to have the same constraints that the other 2 have to working together. A deadly embrace, 1 command point. Stratagem, as the Harlequins close with their foe, those equipped with a Harlequin's Embrace create a delicate web of monofilament. These wires envelope their foe before contracting, slicing them apart. So it surrounds them with like this crazy wire, and then all of a sudden pulls it tight, and it like chops them to little pieces, basically. Use this stratagem after a Harlequin's Embrace unit from your army makes a charge move or performs a heroic intervention. So once again, we're assuming, based on the wording, that these are still mixed units. So the Harlequin's Embrace unit would mean 1 model in the unit has an Embrace, and then the whole entire unit gains this ability. So when they make a charge room move or perform a heroic intervention, select 1 enemy unit, excluding vehicle or monster units, within engagement range of that unit, and roll 1d6 for each model in the Harlequin's Embrace unit. For each 4+, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6. So let's break this down here once again. So use this stratagem after the Harlequin's Embrace unit from your army makes a charge move or performs a heroic intervention. So you charge or perform a heroic intervention. You have at least one model in the unit with a Harlequin's Embrace. You pay 1 command point. It triggers this special ability. Select one enemy unit, can't be a vehicle or monster, within engagement range of that unit and roll d6 for each model in the Harlequin's Embrace unit. So if you have a 10-man squad, you roll 10d6, and on a 4 up, that unit suffers a mortal wound to a maximum of 6. So if you have 10 people in the unit, likely would get 5 mortal wounds. Max would be 6. So if you roll particularly great, you can only get an extra 1. So pretty good. You can use this in confluence with the other abilities. So it looks like the Harlequins are going to be able to deal a bunch of damage either by ignoring invulnerable saves or with these mortal wounds. So if you couple this with the first stratagem, the Kiss stratagem, you could potentially be doing 12 mortal wounds in a single phase with a 10-man unit with a couple rerolls and 1 embrace in the unit for 2 command points. That's a lot of mortal wounds. Now, if you have on top of your regular damage as well, and then if you couple this with our second stratagem, you're talking about doing the mortal wounds and then on top of that, ignoring invulnerable saves. So again, you're going to be doing quite a bit of damage and then mortal wounds on top of it. So these are going to be really good at busting through armor or dishing out massive amounts of mortal wounds. I mean, doing 12 mortal wounds in a single phase is pretty epic. And we're talking about either 2 or 3 command points to do the combo with both those. But again, we cannot combo the first 2 together. So with the speed of the Harlequins, no one will be able to escape your hug of death. So now we have another little stat line here. It's not just the Harlequins' close combat weapons that have been refreshed in the Aeldari Codex. We've already seen what the Shuriken Cannon can do. But the Haywire Cannon on the Void Weaver is now so devastating that these fast-moving skimmers will tear through enemy tank squadrons. So if you're not familiar with the Void Weaver, it is basically a 2 Harlequin jet bike. So this is the other one. This is the Void Weaver. The same kit builds both these jet bikes. This one has a driver, a gunner, and then 2 crew that are armed for like melee combat. And then these ones have a driver and a gunner with a rear-mounted weapon as well. So this is obviously a much more potent gun. That's what we're looking at the stats for right here. This is just a Shuriken Cannon right here. So this one has some fast and melee capabilities with some shooting. This one is fast and double shooty. Same kit makes both of them. Very, very cool models too. So here's the Void Weaver Haywire Cannon. Range 24. Heavy 2d3. So we're going to get 2 to 6 shots. Strength 4. AP -3. Damage 3. So not very strong, but it hits hard. So this would be very good for taking out like elite, heavily armored troops. So for instance, something like Custodes or something like that. This is going to be very, very strong for, because they don't have a super high toughness. They have a high armor save, and then they also have high wounds. So then abilities, this is where this gets amazing. Blast. Each time an attack is made with this weapon against a vehicle, an unmodified wound roll of 4+ is always successful, and an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts a d3 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage. So we know it has blast, so now we have 2 to 6 blast. So larger units will take a bunch of hits from this, smaller units will take multiple hits per shot, and it has 2 to 6 shots. So again, this could be pretty good for messing up 3 wound models, Custodes, etc. Just stuff with medium toughness but high saves and high wounds. And then we know, in addition to the blast roll, each time an attack is made with this weapon against a vehicle unit, so a single vehicle or a unit of vehicles, an unmodified wound roll of 4+ is always successful. So all of a sudden the strength 4 is irrelevant against vehicles. So this thing can shoot at a toughness 8 or higher vehicle, and on a 4+ it automatically wounds. So that is huge now, because now that's -3 AP and damage 3 is messing up vehicles. So if you have 2 to 6 shots on average, let's say you got 4 shots with this thing, you hit with 3 of them, you wound with 1 or 2 of them on a 4-up, we're talking about 3 to 6 easy damage on a vehicle. So for your average mid-tier vehicle, you're talking about half that vehicle's life. And an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts a d3 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage. So now all of a sudden you're converting, say, one of those into an additional D3 mortal wounds. So you're talking about dishing out some serious damage with these things. And then with special abilities like the new Strands of Fate rule, you could basically have one of these wounds be an auto 6. So now you've automatically done, we've got the AP minus 3 damage to the vehicle. AP minus 3 damage to the vehicle. So most vehicles have, say, a 2 or a 3 up save. So you're talking about a 5 or a 6 to save, or they take 3 damage. And then on top of that, they're taking a D3 mortal wounds as well. So things that do have an invulnerable save that are near death, like, say, for instance, Custodes, Dreadnoughts or something like that. This is going to be good for doing some extra damage too. Obviously, they have some resistance to mortal wounds, but these things could be pretty freaking good. And then everything like the big stuff, like it says down here, Stampas, Bane Blades, Monoliths, going to get hurt bad. So toughness 8 is normally a big break point for weapons and harder to hurt. These things will look at toughness 8 and laugh. So pretty awesome. Definitely cool. I like the Harlequins. I like their rules. I like that you'll be able to incorporate them into your regular Aeldari or Drukhari armies without losing your keywords. And we'll see how all this combos out, how the Strands of Fate works. Basically just how this is all coming together. I really like it. I think that Eldar is going to be very, very powerful. The ability to take randomness out of the game with Strands of Fate, some of these pretty cool stratagems as well, some of the special abilities from their weapons, and now we see the Avatar also, definitely making these guys pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Definitely looking forward to seeing how this all pans out. The most important thing is Eldar is very good at playing every phase of the game. So they're not very durable. They die easily. They have mediocre armor saves and low toughness. So they're not very durable when they're attacked. But they're very fast, so they can get into position where they need to be. They hit extremely hard. They have excellent stratagems. They are one of arguably the best psychic armies in the game. So they're very good at shooting, very good at psychic, very good at combat, but they are sort of a glass cannon in many ways. So Sisters of Battle are very good because they have the special ability with the miracle dice, but they also don't have psychic. So that is a huge bane for them. But they also have nice armor saves, but are also fragile. So we see that in many ways, the Aeldari will be similar to Sisters, but they have the psychic boost as well. And then again, the miracle dice is in many ways better, in many ways maybe not as good. We haven't seen the full Strands of Fate abilities yet, but I have a feeling that Eldar are going to be right back at top tier with some of this stuff. We'll see how the psychic powers look. I imagine there's going to be some amazing ones. We will see how some of these things go together. I suspect that we're going to see things like Strands of Fate that are affected by psychic powers, extra Strands of Fate dice, or plus or minus 2 Strands of Fate dice, or we'll see Warlord traits, or we'll see, some other things that modify those. Relics that allow you to plus or minus a Strands of Fate die, or allow you to retain an extra Strands of Fate die. I suspect we'll see other things that interact with them. Or say when a character dies for one command point, you can use a stratagem and you gain a D3 Strands of Fate dice that have to be used by the end of the turn. Just random stuff like that. The same way that Sisters have it. So not seeing the full rule set yet, not seeing the points or anything like that. We really don't know how good or, overpowered any of these abilities are going to be, but it is fun to speculate. So don't get your panties in a bunch. Anybody out there that gets all worked up and starts spamming the comment section, we're just having a little fun, speculating, looking at the rules, talking about potential combos, breaking down the math a little bit. It's fun to do. It's fun to look at ahead of time, but that's it. It's supposed to be fun. So this is not the majority of you guys. Obviously, most of those people probably don't even watch the full video. They just jump in the comment section and start raging. But so that's it. We have looked at the Avatar. We have looked at some of these other things. We looked at the Strands of Fate. Definitely very, very excited for the new Aeldari. Looking forward to them and the Codex and seeing them. Definitely will be doing a magnetization video on the Avatar for all the different weapons and head options, and possibly some kind of conversion as well to kind of fix the fire and the tabard and everything. So But that's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe, share it with your friends. We do all kinds of Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, and of course warcry content as well. Everything from reactions, reviews, and news. We got our unboxing videos and all kinds of good stuff as well. These type of speculative videos about the rules. And then of course we are a commission-based studio, so we show off the commissions as they go out of the house. And then also I do all kinds of painting tutorials, conversion tutorials, magnetizations, lighting, and just about anything else you can imagine in between. So if you're into tabletop gaming, you're watching these videos, you're commenting, you're liking them, make sure to like and subscribe. Quite a few of you comment on the videos regularly but have not subscribed yet. Now's the time to do it. I do release at least one video every day, oftentimes two, and they are all kinds of mix of all these different things, just to kind of keep you up with the hobby and keep you on track. So that's it for today. I am Warhammer Man. This is Warhammer Man Studios, and I'm out of here.